watching the Bulldog Brewhouse podcast.
Hey everybody, it's Steve Grover back in the new year, and we're back for another year of the Bulldog Brewhouse podcast. It is January 22nd, 2025, and I'm honored to have a special guest. Obviously, a lot of people know I'm a lawyer, and my next guest is a well-respected lawyer here in the province of Alberta. His name is Alan Rudakoff, KC, correct? So Alan, how are you doing?
Good, Steve. Happy New Year. How you doing?
Good, thank you. Yeah, it's been a busy year already. You know, life as a lawyer never stops, 24/7, like 7-Eleven. My understanding is you're down in California right now, in sunny California.
Yeah, I'm down in the Palm Springs region. I like to tell people that at this advanced age, I only work half days, which basically means 12 hours a day, which is an inside joke for lawyers, I guess. But yeah, it's life is a blur. I've already been on a couple of business trips. Then it's only the 22nd. I'm scheduled to be somewhere else next week, and yeah, it's just it's good to be busy, you know.
So yeah, one thing that's in the news right now, obviously, you know, the NFL had to move some games around. How is LA doing? Do you get any smog or fire smoke coming in from LA, or is it controlled out there?
Yeah, there's been some issues. Of course, what happened in LA, and is still happening, I gather, is a tragedy, and there's so much loss of life and loss of property that it's a catastrophe. But we're 2 hours by car from LA proper, and we're in what's called the Coachella Valley here.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know anything about meteorology, and I failed all my science courses in high school, so I can't really explain why. But for some reason, the mountains around us keep away a lot of the bad weather that might come in from the coast,
Okay.
including in recent weeks, the smoke and the ash.
Okay.
So it's been pretty idyllic here. It's
Mm-hmm.
maybe been a bit hazier than it would be, but I keep calling my kids back home to hear tales of how cold and miserable and snowy it is, and I got nothing to complain about here. It's been sunny and warm, but I'm coming back to reality next week, so I'll be there in the cold and frost soon enough, and that'll be awesome.
Okay, well, if it snows like 10 inches here, I'll call you to shovel my walk. Is that okay?
Oh yeah, I'll be sure to take that call.
You'll probably put me on straight to voicemail. So I know who you are, and a lot of legal community here in Alberta know who you are. But can you tell a little overview of who Alan Rudakoff is, and your work as a lawyer? Why did you become a lawyer, and what kind of practice area you work in? Just
So you're asking someone with a hyper ego to talk about themselves. How
Sure.
much time do we have?
Oh, we got a whole night. My wife, I told my wife I ain't coming home for dinner, so.
Okay, well, I'll start when I was born. Then we'll work through, and
No, I don't need that.
about 12 hours later, we should get up to my high school years.
Yeah.
The short version, I'm nobody in particular. I'm just average Joe, but I was born and raised in Montreal. Enjoyed my time there, and then got my undergrad degree in McGill University, which is basically the Harvard of Canada, as you know.
Mm-hmm. Well,
So
plus it's Justin
after,
Trudeau. Justin Trudeau went to school there. He's alumni of your famous school.
yeah, of course, so all the best and the brightest obviously went to McGill. But after 22 years living in La Belle Province and realizing that I can't speak a lick of French,
Mm-hmm.
I decided that I should move. So I took the LSAT, did rather well, had some good marks because took some courses that I managed to do well in at McGill, and ended up at the University of Alberta in Edmonton for my law degree. So that was in the late 70s, early 80s. Loved Alberta, loved the outdoors, loved the mountains, loved the cowboy thing, just loved it all. So I decided after 3 years of law school, I'd stick around and move down to Calgary, which I preferred to Edmonton,
Mm-hmm.
proximity to the mountains and what have you. And that was 1982, and 43 years later, I'm still in Calgary. So yeah, that's the basics. Started my practice. You feel free to interrupt me anytime you
Yeah.
get bored. I'll just keep talking.
No, go ahead.
I started the practice of law at a law firm that was then known as McLeod Dixon.
Yep.
They were kind enough to give me articles, and I started my work there. And 35 years later, we merged at some point with the Norton Rose Fulbright firm,
Yeah.
which is one of the largest firms in the world, very prestigious law firm. So I enjoyed my time with the professionals and staff there. But then a few years ago, when I was approaching 60, I looked around and I decided I was going to move on to a smaller firm. I wanted to try my hand at a boutique law firm, as they're known.
Yeah.
So one of my best buddies in law is a gentleman by the name of Dom Venturo, KC.
Oh yeah.
He's just a great human being and a great lawyer. So I called him up, and he agreed to listen to what I had to say, and moved over shortly thereafter. And I've been there for, I guess it's entering my 8th year with them now.
Yeah.
And still grinding away, doing the usual thing. I'm an insurance defense lawyer.
Yeah.
And I'm enjoying what I do. It's a lot of fun with people at my new firm, which they were kind enough to add my name to the firm. So it's now called Scott Venturo Rudakoff, which is kind of them. And I love going in every day. I love the people I work with. Really great group of people, and staff are wonderful. And I don't know, I'm really enjoying it. So
out of curiosity,
asking if I'm going to keep doing this for, I figured, I guess until the wheels fall off, I've been doing it. So why not?
So, I mean, everybody, everyone goes through high school, and, everyone wants to be a lawyer, a doctor, accountant, and there's few of the many that disappear. They never get to law school. What was your interest in going to law school? Because everyone has a story. I can tell you my story, okay? My dad was a doctor. My dad was a surgeon here in Calgary, and my mom was a nurse, and my parents said, Steve, to my 3 sisters, there's only 2 options in life, law or medicine, so I took the easy way out. I was not good at science, and you know what? What you realize is, when you're settling files and you're doing your accounts and you got to get paid or settle a case with an insurance company, you got to have that calculator at the side of your desk all the time, But what attracted you? Like, I got my story why I got into law school. What was your attraction? Because it is a prestigious position, but it's also, it's kind of a grind, and there's a lot of studying going on in law school.
So, to put it easily, I did not do well with the sciences in high school. I managed to do the holy troika, the holy trinity of failing chemistry, biology, and physics. So it clearly appeared to me that going on to get a undergrad degree in science from a good university and moving into the medical field was not going to be it for me. Plus, if I even think of blood, I usually just keel over.
Okay.
So probably not the best to be a doctor.
Okay.
You don't want your doctor unconscious in the operating room.
Yeah.
But no, my decision to go into law, because when I was in undergrad, I was casting around. I didn't know what I wanted to be. Do I want to go into business? I didn't know what I wanted to be. And then it came to me. And I owe it all to one gentleman. And, it's very difficult to pinpoint where you get the idea from, but I really can pinpoint one gentleman. And that's a well-known fellow by the name of Charles Manson.
Oh, okay.
I owe it
in
to
California.
Charlie Manson.
Yeah.
Because for those younger types, or maybe you haven't seen the recent Once Upon a Time in Hollywood movie.
Oh yeah.
Charlie Manson was a outcast in California who started up a cult or a family in the Death Valley region of California in the high desert. And sadly, he went and had his disciples go on a murderous killing spree, and known as the Tate LoBianco murders in August of 1969, just a couple of weeks after men walked on the moon. So Charlie Manson was found, accused, charged, and ended up, in trial. And the lawyer who tried him, the district attorney, the prosecutor, was a man by the name of Vincent Bugliosi. Mr. Bugliosi wrote a novel called Helter Skelter, which was named after a Beatles song of the same name.
Yeah.
That went on to be a best-selling true crime novel, went on to be a movie, and a more recent movie, of course. And what I got from that whole experience of reading that book was how fascinating it would be to be a trial lawyer.
Mm-hmm.
And I do encourage people. I just spoke to a friend's daughter recently, and she asked me the same question over lunch. She was contemplating where she should take her career, and I suggested, look, go read Helter Skelter by Vincent Bugliosi, because it's pretty much a trial lawyer procedural on how to do a criminal trial.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, the first half of the book, Steve, as you know, is all about the gruesome murders,
Mm-hmm.
which
Yeah.
is all good and well. It's a sad event, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
But I wasn't fussed with that, but I was really intrigued and taken by how interesting it was, the entire trial process. And literally, after I read that book, I put it down and I said, I want to be a lawyer.
Okay.
And when I went into law school, I was lucky enough to get accepted into law school. I took all the criminal, and as you know from your own experience, people tend to gravitate either to the corporate classes or they might take securities or
Mm-hmm.
international relations. I took all the criminal courses you could. I took criminal evidence. I took oral advocacy, mooting, all of that, advanced criminal evidence. And I did rather well in all those courses.
Yeah.
So I had my heart set on being a criminal defense lawyer,
Okay.
or maybe even a prosecutor.
Okay.
And when I started casting about for articles, the good people at McLeod Dixon, the firm in Edmonton, or pardon me, in Calgary, they said, yeah, you can do criminal at our firm. So I did. I went there and articled, and the first 15 years of practice, I did criminal law.
Okay.
And it was absolutely fascinating. I acted for everything under the sun. I was doing. I did murder defenses, sexual assaults, bank robbery, kidnapping, a lot of DUIs, impaired driving,
Mm-hmm.
common assaults. I did it all. It was absolutely. I was in court every day, which is exactly what I wanted. I was running down to court every day, both provincial court as then was, now the Alberta Court of Justice,
Yeah.
as well as our Superior Court, Court of King's Bench, as it is now.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So, I mean, obviously, knowing I've got some criminal lawyer friends in town like Jim Lutz. You probably know who Jimmy is. Everyone knows who he is. You learn the rules of evidence pretty good as a criminal lawyer. Wouldn't you agree with that?
Sure, because you're using them every day on the fly.
Yeah.
The criminal, the folks, the men and women who practice criminal law are the experts in evidence, because
Mm-hmm.
you and I, as now that I'm doing what you do, which is a civil litigator,
Mm-hmm.
you know how often or how infrequently we get to trial.
Yeah.
So we get
Yeah.
rusty
Yeah.
on matters of evidence. But man, those the criminal defense lawyers and the Crown prosecutors, they're using it every day. They
Mhm.
are the true experts. So if you ever have a question on trial evidence, the best person to pick up the phone and call would be someone in the criminal bar, because they know their stuff cold.
Yeah, so and then there's always this, like, I mean, we go through different generations, and everyone wants to be a lawyer, and then I went to law school, and you probably had the Socratic method where you got picked on, you had to stand, and if the answer was wrong, you get ridiculed in front of all your classmates. Was there any fear of you when you came out of law school going to court? I mean, or was it just natural for you to public speak?
Well, I'm a so am I allowed? Am I allowed? Uh, I've got a potty mouth, Steve. So
Yeah, it's
words slip in.
okay. We can always add that out, eh, Nathan? Okay.
So it's funny you mention that, because I was shy when I was growing up, and
Mm-hmm.
probably shy in high school at the time. So I wasn't sure if this was going to be for me, as you say, the standing up and talking in public. But
Yeah.
um, where did you go to law school?
Down in Texas, in Dallas. So
Okay,
we had the old
awesome.
Socratic method, and it's just interesting. Like you're saying, I was totally shy, and and when I went to law school, I wanted to be a corporate lawyer, just doing solicitor work, and then all of a sudden I got forced into this civil litigation, and that's what I've been doing for 25 years. But from my view, it's like, you just don't want to look like a fool in court. Would you agree with that? Sort of. And then there's a whole
Oh,
galley of people all laughing at you. And, there's certain judges, they all want to test you because you are a court officer of the court, and a lot of judges want to make sure you know your stuff and you're protecting your client. You know what I'm saying?
I do, and so why I mentioned law school is I was fortunate to get selected to work at Student Legal Services, or SLS as it
Yeah.
was called at the U of A,
Mm-hmm.
and that was basically the a training ground for people who wanted to be trial lawyers, and we would act for the indigent and people who couldn't afford a lawyer and couldn't afford or didn't qualify for legal aid.
Yeah.
So we would do work, and it was both civil, mostly criminal, but some civil, some family.
Yeah.
And I will tell you that I did 146 trials. That's number sticks in my mind.
Wow.
146 trials when I was in law school for Student Legal Services.
Okay.
And whatever fear I had of standing up in a courtroom or being embarrassed
Yeah.
was soon wiped away from my psyche by going there as a law student who didn't know a hell of a lot about
Yeah.
nothing, and go there and acted. And I won some, I lost some, and
Yeah.
but we did our best for our clients as we thought of them, and it was a wonderful experience. By the time I got out, I had all these trials, this trial experience, getting and the judges. I found in Edmonton when I was going to school and appearing in court there, they were quite well. They were always professional, but they were quite gentle with us. We didn't get a hard time from them. They knew we were only students. They didn't
Mm-hmm.
know they knew we didn't know a hell of a lot, so they were quite
Yeah.
gentle to us, and we were grateful for that. And then I got down to Calgary and started going to our courts here, and I tried to prepare as best I could, but I'm not the sharpest knife in the drawer, and I didn't get everything right at first or even at
Yeah.
second or at the 10th time.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I got lectured, and I got told a few times, in a professional manner by the members of our judiciary. But that old expression, "What doesn't kill you makes you stronger."
Yeah. Oh yeah.
It's for real,
Yeah.
and there's the law has so many expressions, as you know. One of them, the if it doesn't kill you makes you stronger is one of them. But one of the other ones that you and I would know well is you learn more from losing than from winning.
Oh yeah.
And we've all had our losses. And show me a lawyer who brags about never having lost a case, and I'll show you a lawyer who doesn't take the tough ones to trial.
Oh yeah.
So
Well, yeah. It's
you know,
interesting
so
because go ahead.
so I mean, so we've all had our experiences, and you grow from it, you learn from it. Sometimes you walk back from the courthouse and you're happy. Sometimes you walk back and you're
Mm-hmm.
sad. But you set your mind to being better the next time.
Yeah.
And as I said, I've learned more. In fact, if you were to ask me, and you won't, and I don't need you to, tell me about your impressive wins. Sure, but I don't really think about them. The ones that bother me are the ones I lost.
Yeah.
I can recite all the cases I've lost. I haven't lost that many, but I've lost enough. And those are the ones that leave the mark on you, and you resolve to do better. Try to get a better result, although it's out of your hands. It's in the hands of judges and juries
Oh
for the
yeah.
most part.
Yeah.
But still, I mean, you learn. And I've got very, very thick skin.
Mm-hmm.
I like to say I'm impossible to offend, although I encourage you to try.
No.
But
I.
I'm impossible. I'm impossible to offend. So
Yeah.
like I learned, you live, you learn, and you try to move on to the next thing. And if you fuck something up, you try to learn from it and try not to do that next time.
Yeah, it's very interesting. Like I've seen this. Everyone's on Facebook and they have these small clips now, and I'm terrible. Like I was a TV addict growing up, and now I'm almost like first thing I go is Facebook, Instagram, and there's Tom Brady, a little clip, and he's talking about. I don't want to talk about the wins. I want to talk about the losses. I learned more from my losses than my wins, and people are scared to fail in life. I don't know if you agree with that, but my dad taught me, do not be scared to fail because you're human and you're going to learn more from your failures in life than your successes. Would you agree with that?
Oh, totally. And again, if you're not in the arena, there's a famous quote that I will not do justice to, so I'm not even going to try, by Teddy Roosevelt, President Roosevelt,
Oh yeah.
the first one back at the turn of this last century.
Mm-hmm.
I think the basic, he was quoting or citing a poem called the Arena, I believe it was,
Mm-hmm.
about people who, if you sit on the sidelines and you're afraid to get into the arena,
Yeah.
which for us is trial,
Yeah.
or trying anything, doesn't have
Yeah.
to be legalese.
Or even going an
But if you're,
application, because some of those, you've been in specials and those get hotly contested, like, Court of Appeal, stuff like that.
yeah, although I do have a funny story about the Court of Appeal.
Okay.
One of my good friends and a competitor of yours, so I won't name him, at the plaintiff bar, he and I were in the Alberta Court of Appeal a few years ago, and neither of us did particularly well. Can't remember too much. I think I won, but I could be wrong. It doesn't matter. But we both got a good talking to by the judges. They didn't like any of our arguments.
Okay.
And the Court of Appeal, it's a privilege to appear in front of them. They're awfully good at what they do. They're beyond smart, and they were giving us a hard time during argument, which is part of the deal.
Oh, yeah.
So we get out of there, and your colleague at the plaintiff bar, we were sitting outside waiting for the decision, and he said to me, like, wow, that was pretty challenging. That was pretty difficult, and I had to agree with him. And then we just got to talking, and he said, what's the highlight of your legal career? Thinking that I was going to tell him about some big oratory that I had given, something that should be something like out of a Hollywood movie. And I said, actually, as I think back on it after 40 years or so, what I'm most proud about is that I'm still wearing the same size pants that I was wearing when I got called to the bar in 1982.
Okay.
So he said, yeah, I was expecting more. I was expecting some fabulous case before the Supreme Court or whatever. And I said, well, yeah, I mean, I've been there, and that was cool. But I'm really quite proud of the fact that I've managed to wear the same waistband that I had back in 1982. Because as you know,
Yeah.
In this job, you end up, you eat, you drink, you eat when you win, you eat when you lose, you drink during both as well.
Yeah.
You travel for business a lot. Life can be good, and you can end up looking like Homer Simpson pretty quickly.
So then what, like you're talking, I mean, what has been your success in just keeping fit? Because, I'll be writing a brief, and I'll go to the kitchen at her office, and there's cold pizza. It's easy to eat that stuff. I mean, so what's been, and what's your success in just, keeping in shape and doing the grind too? You understand?
Well, my family inspires me. My wife is very fit, and she's constantly running to yoga and Pilates, and she bowls and plays pickleball and golfs, and does long distance walking and all that, and hiking. So she's super fit. So she makes sure that we don't just have burgers and pizza at home. She makes sure that we always eat healthy, lots of salads and pasta and veggies and that type of thing. And I've got 4 kids, and they're all remarkably fit too. They're all, like my daughter's at the gym just about 6 days a week or more.
Okay.
My son plays hockey several times a week. My other 2 daughters, they're also very fit. So I'm surrounded by very fit people. And I don't want to be that one guy at the end of the couch who can't get off the couch at family parties or whatever. So I look around at my family, and they're also very fit and healthy. So I don't want to be that guy.
Okay.
Plus, it's my goal to live forever.
Oh, okay.
And my doctor tells me that that's an admirable goal. But he wished me luck. But I'm doing the best I can to try to put the odds in my favor. Because you're right. The practice of law, as you know, it's stressful, man.
Yeah.
And it can be because and you and I, we've gone to battle, and it's the type of thing where I'm always happy to shake your hand and go for a beer with you afterwards because you're a good egg.
Yeah.
But we fight. We're not to put too much of a word on it, but we're warriors. We fight every day.
Yeah.
Every day you go in and fight with people, and you got 2 ways to carry yourself after you finish fighting. At the end of the day, you can get it, disappear into a bottle, or you can go and work out. So I choose the latter. I try to. So my thing is running. I like to run. Try to run 4 or 5 days a week.
Okay.
Running helps. It clears my mind. It makes clears my mind. Keeps the weight off.
Yeah.
and gives me some perspective. I play golf a lot, although driving around in a golf cart, um, that's probably not terribly. That's not probably something that makes you fit, but anyway, I play golf and walk.
Yeah.
I mean, I try to do my thing.
So, can I ask you a question? You're down in Palm Springs. I went to school in the U.S. for 10 years, okay? So, you're driving, like, do you golf down there?
Yeah, we belong to the
Okay.
Mission Hills Golf
Okay,
and
so you
Country Club.
finish a round of golf and you're driving home and you see a Jack in the Box. You do not get a temptation to go in there and get a burger and fries?
Never, not once. And you know why?
Why is that?
You know why? Because they have In-N-Out burgers here, and that's where I go.
Okay, so that's where you go. Is that your fetish, like an In-N-Out burger?
Yeah, the double is my
Okay.
thing. If and there's one that just opened a few blocks from here, which is
Yeah.
great. And
Yeah.
actually, to get over this high stress of being on this podcast, my wife and I
Oh,
are going
yeah.
to Shake Shack, which just opened up in Palm Desert a few miles from here. So
Okay.
we're going to Shake Shack after this. So if anyone is looking for me after this,
Yeah.
they can find me in the Shake Shack in Palm Desert,
Oh,
California.
yeah. Well, in the U.S., you've been down there, and it's just a food industry. And I remember going to school in the U.S., and I went to a class, and I looked around, and half the students in my class had Pepsis. And I thought, all right, this is heaven for me, man. 8 in the morning, we're drinking Pepsi. You don't do that in Canada, you know what I'm saying?
Well, they do have an issue here. There's a lot of people, and it's a problem.
Yeah.
They have an obesity problem
Oh,
here,
yeah.
and but it's the land of plenty. It's the dolce vita, the sweet life here.
Oh, yeah.
There's food of all descriptions. There's a lot of fast food, and I love that stuff. I mean, have if hand to God, have I ever thrown out any pizza? Never.
Yeah.
I mean, I like burgers and fries and pizza and
Yeah.
hot dogs and all that stuff. I mean, as you saw earlier, I'm a big
Padre.
baseball fan,
Yeah.
so we go to games a lot, and sure, I eat lots of hot dogs and beer, but it's all about moderation. Didn't In the novel Lost Horizons, the Dalai Lama
Mm-hmm.
talked about moderation, all things in moderation.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I'm trying to live as long as the Dalai Lama. I think he lived to be several hundred years old.
Yeah.
So I try to do things in moderation. So yeah, I'll go have a double and fries at
Okay.
In-N-Out Burger, but I'll also run 10 clicks the next
Yeah.
day.
Okay.
Next
Yeah,
day and
because
burn it off.
on
But
Monday, you'll balance it out. Yeah, because on Monday there's a college football championship game. Notre Dame and Ohio State played, and I got home early to watch it. And I told my wife, "This is a pizza night. We're watching college football, and we're ordering pizza, and I'm drinking a Coke and a beer." So when it comes to that, I mean, I'll go off the Caesar salad or cottage cheese dinners. You know what I'm saying?
well, we're kindred spirits because I did the same thing. The game started here at 4:30 in the
Yeah.
afternoon, and I was in the living room watching.
Yeah.
I didn't have a dog in the hunt, but it's a national championship, so you watch.
Yeah.
And the same thing this coming Sunday. Sadly, my team did not make the playoffs, but I'll be watching the AFC and NFC championships, and it'll probably be a burger, hot dog, or pizza night or something because that just kind of goes with it. And we have the fridge is stocked with beer here, and we'll go through
Okay.
that. And I love American beer. It sort of tastes to Canadians like ginger ale,
Oh, yeah.
but
Yeah.
you can sure drink more of it. And
Yeah.
so it's one of
So-
the good things about being in
so-
the U.S. from time to time.
So who's your NFL team out of curiosity?
Yeah, it's gonna sting, but my team is the New York Jets. Now,
Oh, yeah.
before you say anything, I know, roll the eyes. No, we deserve it. Look, it's been a bad 54 years.
Yeah, I
okay?
know.
It's been difficult, but when I became a fan in 1968, they won that year in January 1969. Joe Willie led them to
Oh,
a
yeah.
16-7 win over Baltimore
Yeah.
Colts as they then were, and I thought they were going to win every year.
Oh, yeah.
And it's been dry.
Yeah.
There's been some hard times. There was the butt fumble.
Mm-hmm.
There's been no playoffs since I think 2010. It's been a dry spell, but they just hired a new coach today,
Okay.
and feeling good. And I think it's next year's our year.
Well, yeah, they've had some characters. I remember Mark Gastineau. Remember him, the tight end?
Yeah,
He
yeah,
did.
from the
Yeah.
yeah.
And then I thought, like, I watched the NFL. I thought Zach Wilson would have been your savior. So I got a mini helmet signed by him, and I don't even think he's in the league anymore. That kid from BYU.
Yeah, I think he's a backup somewhere.
Yeah.
God bless him.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, Sam Darnold,
Oh yeah.
did very well with Minnesota this year.
Yeah.
But yeah, I am still stinging from spending a lot of money on my Mark Sanchez jersey
From USC.
So I can't wear it after the butt fumble on that Thanksgiving night. So yeah, it's tough being a Jets fan. It shows a certain amount of resilience to be a Jets fan because everyone makes fun of you, and it's worth it.
No, I know. Well, I got to give you respect for being a Jets fan. I mean, I'm a Cowboys fan, and you know what? With Jerry Jones as the owner, they're never going to win the Super Bowl, and I think that whole organization is just a drama. That's all that's going on there.
But they have a nice crib. I went to see Jerry went to Monday Night Football against the Houston Texans last November, and beautiful building, beautiful stadium, cheerleaders. It's the whole package.
Yeah.
The team stinks, but they'll get better. They've got a new head coach this year too, and there's always next year. That's the beauty of it, right?
Yeah. So, getting back to law, so you practiced criminal law for 15 years. What was the transition to move yourself into civil litigation?
I was just tired. I was tired of acting for criminals because they're a challenging lot.
Yeah.
They don't always tell the truth. So you get kind of tired of getting lied to a lot. I don't know. I did go to the Supreme Court of Canada on a couple of criminal cases, and I was lucky to be there. And I remember flying back from Ottawa after one. It was on a sexual assault case. And I remember thinking that Mama didn't send me to law school just to do this for my whole career, just to act for people who commit rape and what have you. So on that plane ride with a few drinks on board, I had what alcoholics refer to as a moment of clarity. And I thought I should probably maybe move into something else. And the partners at McLeod Dixon were very gracious, and they welcomed me with trial experience. I had some skills, I guess.
Yeah.
And I started doing. I'd always dabbled in insurance work because but I became full-time insurance defense counsel and really enjoyed it. I mean, as you know, every case is different. People are interesting. The issues are interesting.
Yeah.
Even though I'm stupid when it comes to science, I do product liability work now, and I'm fascinated by the engineers and the metallurgists and all the people I get to meet with. I get smarter every day by hanging out with them. So it was an easy transition to go from, mainly because of the people I worked with at McLeod Dixon and later at Norton Rose Fulbright. It was an easy transition. They were welcoming. They taught me what I needed to know, and then like we talked about earlier, the School of Hard Knocks, and you figure it out on your own. And I love doing it. Every day is different. Every day is fascinating. Love coming to work every day, and so it's very enjoyable.
So, and then now you're well known in this province as doing a lot of dental malpractice defense work. How did you get in that practice? It's a very exclusive area. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it was pretty niche. That was just right place, right time. One of the senior partners at the firm had a large file. It was a very, very sad case about a young woman who became severely injured as a result, allegedly, of some dental procedures. So they needed a junior. I was in the office at the time. So just being in the right place at the right time, Steve. They asked me to help out, and I did, and started getting more and more of that. And when that partner in charge of the account moved on, I inherited it, for lack of a better term, and managed to do it, and been doing it ever since. And it's not just me. There's other lawyers in the city, notably the lawyers at the Gowling's firm.
Yeah.
They do that as well, and very talented people. I've been doing it though. I think I've been doing it since the late '80s, and we were putting my CV together late last year,
Yeah.
and my assistant was kind enough to do some searching and found out that it's several hundred. I don't know how many hundreds. I don't want to exaggerate, but it's multiple hundreds of dentists and dental practitioners that I've acted for. It's somewhere north of 500, I believe, that I've acted for over the years, which is kind of cool, and I'm proud of it. I try to do good work for them, and they're a very grateful group. So I do not just malpractice, but also professional discipline work for them.
Okay.
For your audience, that would be so malpractice is if someone sues a dentist and there's a lawsuit, so I'm able to defend those lawsuits. But sometimes people don't choose to sue; they choose to file a complaint with the College of Dental Surgeons of Alberta.
Oh yeah.
And if there's a professional discipline complaint, the dentist very often usually hires counsel to help them. And I've been doing a great deal of that as well, which is interesting work. So I do both ends of it. I do some litigation and some professional discipline defense. And it's very interesting work. And again, a very grateful group, because these folks are, it's like getting punched in the gut, I gather, to receive a complaint or to get sued professionally.
Oh yeah.
And they need someone on their side. They need their knight in shining armor that's going to protect them. And I tell them that I'm like you for your clients. I'm the sheepdog. I'm there to protect them. I'm there to look after them. I'm there to take their position before the courts or the hearing tribunal, and be their hero and argue their case for them, and do it vigorously, ethically, vigorously, and people appreciate it. So anyhow, I've been doing that. I've been fortunate to get that work, and still doing a lot of it. I was just dealing with something just before I clicked onto this Zoom call, and it's an interesting niche practice to do, and I'm happy to do it.
So just out of curiosity, I mean, you say you weren't very good at science, and so has there been a steep learning curve for you to learn about dentistry and all the numbered teeth, and what procedures are not right, and what because everyone knows med mal, and they know about the CMPA, and like a lot of plaintiff lawyers aren't willing to delve into it because there's a lot of medicine involved in it.
Well, as I'm fond of saying, Steve, that I'm not a dentist, but I could probably play one on TV if I had to.
Yeah.
I know enough dental terminology and lingo to be dangerous.
Yeah.
You wouldn't want me doing dental work on your dog, frankly.
Okay.
Let alone you.
Yeah.
But I got game.
Yeah.
I talk a good game.
Yeah.
And it's like osmosis. Stuff rubs off on you after a while. You learn the way the teeth are enumerated. You learn the procedures, and I've been very fortunate to be retained by every area in the field of dentistry: general dentists, endodontists, oral and maxillofacial surgeons, prosthodontists, periodontists, pedodontists. Probably missing a few, but I act for all of them, and in each one, it's a very unique subspecialty, of course, and you have to learn. So, for just as a quick, probably boring example, when dental implants, which I think you've had some dental implant cases in your practice.
Oh yeah.
Implants. Oh, there you go. Well,
yeah.
When dental implants first became in vogue in the I believe it was the early 1980s or late 80s, I had my first dental implant case. Since then, I've had dozens and dozens since, but I didn't know what it was about. So I went and asked our librarian at the firm to get us the book. So she got me the book by a Dr. Brannemark, who actually invented the dental implant procedures, and I read the dental book. Now, did I read it in one shot? No. Did I understand all of it? Probably not.
Yeah.
Did I get the gist of it? Yeah. Enough so that I could learn. And then I asked a lot of questions. And again, like you and I both were in the job of asking questions. In fact, my principal when I was at McLeod Dixon, told me, and it was a really good point. He said, I don't need to get, you as a junior lawyer or just as a lawyer generally, you don't need to know all the answers, but you should try to figure out all the questions.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
That's a little deep,
Yeah.
but the point being, I didn't need to know about all the dental, the ins and outs of dental procedures, but I knew enough to ask a lot of questions of the dentist, explain it to me. And these are super bright people, men and women who devote their life to oral health. They demonstrated, on models, and they showed me diagrams and videos, and eventually you figure it out. Now, again, you don't want me doing any surgery on you.
Yeah.
You don't even want me cleaning you don't even want me to floss you.
What about what about brushing my teeth one morning? I'll do that.
I could probably brush your teeth because I brush my dog's teeth.
All right.
So I could probably get away with brushing your teeth.
Yeah,
That's a bit too close.
Okay. Cool.
That's a bit too intimate, so maybe I'll leave that alone. But you learn, you figure it out, and also the other thing, as you know, it's not just me defending the case. We have experts. We have independent, objective experts in their fields who we hire, and they're the ones that are trying to explain their position to the court, and I'm just a dumb lawyer following up behind them, summarizing things, and so again, you surround yourself with super bright people, as I always like to do, and you get by.
Okay. So just out of curiosity, like I've got like nephews and nieces, and they're 16, 14, and this came up, when I was younger. If someone's out there watching this podcast and they're thinking of going into law school, either young or as a second career, what would your advice be to them on choosing a career in law going forward in this 21st century of, Zoom meetings and AI and all that stuff? Because it is changing a lot, the legal career, since COVID.
Yeah, it has, but it changes always.
Yeah.
All professions, life changes.
Yeah.
But my advice is the advice I gave my daughter, my youngest daughter. Went to law school and graduated in 2022, and is now practicing as a financial services lawyer, a banking lawyer. I encourage everyone. I mentioned I had lunch with a friend of mine, her daughter, recently, who she was 16, is 16, and wanted to know, should she go to law school? And I mentioned I told her to read Helter Skelter.
Yeah.
But I tell people to go because I think it is good for anything that you want to do in life. If you want to practice law, then obviously that's its starting point. You want to be an in-house lawyer, of which there are thousands, tens of thousands across the country, work for inside a company, not practice like you and I do as outhouse lawyers, but practice as an in-house lawyer.
Yeah.
But it's also good to go into business, go into journalism, go into government. There's any number of things. Think about how valuable, because what is law school? I dare say, and you're probably brighter than me, but I've probably forgotten everything that I learned. Probably forgotten everything I learned in law school, because and also that stuff was from 1979 to 1982. The law's all different since then.
Yeah.
So I'm not holding on to that law that I learned back 40 odd years ago. But what did we get out of it? What did you get out of it? We got out of it an ability to think critically, an ability to think analytically, the ability and the mindset to question everything, and be brave, be courageous, take a position, be able to defend it, know when it's time to fold your cards, know when it's time to continue. It teaches you to think, is what law school does.
Yeah.
So when I tell people, and I get asked a lot, because we all have friends, and acquaintances. People ask, I tell them it'll teach you how to think, and with that, you're set for life. You can go and be an engineer afterwards. You can go and I know plenty of medical doctors and dentists who have their undergrad degree or their earlier degree is a law degree.
Okay.
I think it is the most perfect university degree, and I'm biased, obviously.
Yeah.
It's the most perfect university degree a man or woman could get. because it teaches them how to think. And you mentioned it earlier about that idea, that Socratic method where they pull you up in front of the class and embarrass you. We've all had those lovely
Oh yeah,
moments.
yeah.
But from that, you get it, and you start realizing, I'm going to think. No, I'm not just going to memorize and barf it back on the page.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to think, I'm going to question it, and I'm going to try to think of it in a different way. So who wouldn't want someone like that in their organization, in their business, in their firm? Who doesn't on their side?
Mm-hmm.
Who doesn't want, can think critically, analytically, is fearless, is not afraid to take a hard position,
Mm-hmm.
not afraid to take an adverse position?
Mm-hmm.
I think it's the perfect training. It's rigorous. It's not for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
It's rigorous, and you get out, and you're a changed person. I know I was.
Oh yeah,
What,
I totally,
ask you?
yeah, I totally agree. I think you go to law school and they teach you how to think analytically. They think you have to have a curious mind, and you always have to question everything. And even when you watch a movie and someone gets murdered, like, oh, that's murder number one, or that's involuntary manslaughter. You just think differently than the normal person. Does that make sense?
It does,
Yeah.
and very often I'll turn to my wife when we're out somewhere engaging in some activity with others, and I say, I wonder how people. And I don't say this from in a negative way. It sounds a bit hoity, but I don't mean it that way. But like, how do people get through life without being lawyers? And again, I don't mean that to be an elite comment. What I mean is, every day, every day, as you go about your business in society, you're engaging with the legal process, even though
Mm-hmm.
you don't appreciate it. So
Yeah.
you drive to work, you are subject to the traffic laws
Mm-hmm.
of the criminal laws of the
Yeah.
country.
Yeah.
On your way into work, you stop at Starbucks.
Yeah.
Well, and you get a coffee or something. That's a contract.
Yeah, well, that
It,
coffee could be too hot and it could burn you, and then you end up suing. That's a personal injury lawsuit. You remember? I always think.
I don't like your chances, Steve, but sure.
Well, that lady. I mean, did you hear about the Dunkin' Donuts settlement last year? The lady in Boston got $3 million US. I mean, everyone knows the McDonald's case, but this one in Boston just blew it out of the sky. They didn't even go to trial, Dunkin' Donuts. So.
I love my Dunkin' Donuts. But my point is that we
Yeah.
are, all of us. When if you drink milk for lunch, that milk is subject to so much regulation.
Mm-hmm.
There are regulations of the yin yang all about milk
Yeah.
and eggs.
Yeah.
So everything you put in your body, everything you do,
Mm-hmm.
like if you play recreational hockey,
Mm-hmm.
you're subject to rules and laws, especially if someone shit talks you somewhere, and you're thinking about going on to, you mentioned Instagram or socials, and shit talking them back. Do you really want to defame someone? I mean, every day
Yeah.
as we go about our daily affairs,
Mm-hmm.
we're in some fashion with the law.
Oh yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's super cool to
Mm-hmm.
know. Like, I give this example. I'll drop it, but after this, but because I'm just killing a dead horse here. But when you play Monopoly,
Oh yeah.
I do very well when I play Monopoly. And why is that? Not because I'm especially lucky, I'm not, but I always read the inside of the box to remind myself about all those little niggly little rules before you play Monopoly. And I end up using all those little rules to beat other people when I'm playing. So now lawyers are, and we're annoying, I know, and I accept that. But lawyers know the rules of society,
Mm-hmm.
and we're a necessary evil.
Mm-hmm.
You want us, but you need us, and when you need us, you really need us.
Oh yeah.
And hope to God you don't need us, you particularly, because someone's been hurt.
Mm-hmm.
Me, someone's been hurt or injured or whatever, and someone needs to
Yeah.
be defended. But
Yeah.
it happens, and life goes on. But the lawyers, despite all the abuse and all the shit talking that we get, some deservedly so, we're necessary because we know how the rules and laws of society work, and we're a necessary evil to allow the wheels of society to keep rolling on. And, and you mentioned the term officers of the court, and we are. Our first obligation, ethical officers to the courts of our jurisdiction in Alberta. And, so it's not win at all costs. It's not winning is everything. Never is that the case. But we do our jobs. We try to society moving on the straight and narrow, and we try to help people.
Yeah.
And that's what I both do. And it's important work. So that's a such a long answer. And you edited it out by your IT folks. But the short answer is, why go to law school? Because it'll do you good. It'll toughen up your mind, and it'll make you a better person, and it'll make you more valuable in whatever line of work you ultimately choose.
Oh yeah, and I agree with it. And you never education always a benefit. You never lose your education. Someone can't take away the knowledge that you've gained. I mean, you could lose your house, you could lose your car, but you always have knowledge no matter what, and you can rebuild what you have with the knowledge you have.
Yeah, very true.
Yeah,
good point.
Yeah. So one more thing I want, going to law. AI is a big thing, and I've been watching listening a lot of podcasts. I've been watching a lot of social media stuff. Is there going to be a huge change in law with artificial intelligence, or is something that's never going to happen to our area of practice?
Oh, I think it's inevitable. I think it's coming. It's here.
Yeah.
It's it's dangerous, but it's also a benefit if properly used.
Yeah.
You've seen those cases primarily out of the United States, but I've heard of some of them in Canada as well, about lawyers getting tripped up by, instead of doing the brief, preparing a brief, which is hard work, as you and I know, having AI prepare a brief of argument, and it's filled with bullshit cases that don't actually exist.
Yeah, I know. We've all heard those cases.
Yeah, so I mean, it's so it can be abused.
Yeah.
But because I'm relentlessly hopeful and cheerful and optimistic about life, I'd like to think that it'll be a benefit to us. I mean, I've got ChatGPT on my phone here.
Yeah.
But I use it for silly things, like do me up a poem about Steve's podcast. I can.
Okay, I don't know what that poem would. Let's see.
Oh yeah, here I'll just do it here. I can do
a
poem about Steve's podcast, and in a second, tune in now, don't miss a beat. Steve's podcast brings the heat with wisdom, laughs, and stories around. It's a steady hand. From sports to news and all between, insights fresh and thoughts so keen. Guests arrive and share their take. Lessons learned, no time to fake.
All right, cool.
So that happened in real time.
Yeah.
It took a quarter of a second for that
to
spit out. So I mean, AI can be. I'm using it as a fun little gimmick, a party favor.
Yeah.
But obviously, it'll be something. It'll be something useful. I just hope, it's used as a force for good. That's me being optimistic, as opposed to a force for evil. But I guess we'll see.
So the big concern is like a lot of lawyers are against AI, and then I ask them, well, I mean, did you go to Safeway? Yes. Did you use the self-checkout or did you use the clerk? I use the self-checkout. Well, that's AI. I'm sorry to tell you that. I live in the west side of town, and the Safeway there was gutted, and they have all these self-checkouts, and that's AI. And now, when you and I were growing up, I mean, it was great to have go with mom to the grocery store. You'd have a clerk check you out. You'd have the bag, the kid bagging our groceries, and then help out mom and to load the car. That's all gone now. You know what I'm saying? So the big question I have is, do you think lawyers' jobs are at stake with AI, or it won't happen?
Yeah, I mean, I suppose there's always that fear, risk. But I have to believe, I mean, can AI be compassionate? Can AI be empathetic? I mean, you consider what you do. And I've never acted on as a plaintiff counsel like you.
Yeah.
But I imagine it's a tremendous amount of empathy and hand-holding
Oh, and
and
patience.
compassion.
Yeah,
Yes.
patience. Yeah.
So maybe AI can spit out the right answer, maybe faster than you and I can think of it, or the right
Mm-hmm.
law case. But the human touch, time will tell. And I guess now that I'm going to be forever immortalized in this podcast, uh, if you decide to upload it, unless you figure I'm so
No, we're
far
gonna
shipping,
upload it. It's gonna be one of our best ones, right, Nathan? It's gonna be number one on the
or
Billboard
or
charts.
or if your videographer professional that's there is going to say, "Shit, I forgot to turn on the camera. We got to do this all over."
Uh,
But barring that,
yeah.
like time, it's either years from now when someone's watching this on the moon, in an effort to fall asleep, or on Mars, they'll know that handsome looking guy or guys, I'll give that to you,
Oh, okay.
were that and decided that AI was not a big issue. And,
Okay. Well, I
I'll,
mean,
I'll
yeah.
either be tremendously right or tremendously wrong, but
Well, I mean, I just don't think the like a surgeon. Yeah, you can replace surgery with computers or like robots, but there's still that surgical oversight. I think law, you still have to have that compassion. I mean, they tried this with Colossals. You remember the Colossals program that came out of the U.S.? I mean, that was just a complete that just went upside down. So plug in the injury, plug in the treatment. Well, here's what you get. I mean, I just don't think it's going to work. You know what I'm saying?
no, and it's the same thing. I mean, could you imagine appearing before a computer instead of a judge?
Yeah.
Judges, weigh. I've never been a judge, but
Yeah.
judges, I'm told, need to weigh, as I understand their job, weigh the evidence and the nuances. And even if a computer is programmed to do that, I would be fearful for society
Mm-hmm.
if that wisdom was changed by a bunch of ones and zeros and bits and bytes.
Yeah.
So I think there will always be a role for lawyers.
Yeah.
It may be reduced. I'll give you one example. Years ago, I've never been a corporate lawyer, as I said, and I've never done a junior work, but I'm told juniors often had to do a lot of proofreading.
Mm-hmm.
Back in the 80s, they'd have to, with a prospectus that was getting published, and they'd be up till all hours of the night proofreading.
Yeah.
This was in the days when they typed manually.
Mm-hmm.
Well, now, I mean, we have those word checks and all that. So AI has taken over, and perhaps there are less lawyers that get retained. I imagine there are. Maybe they don't get retained at all to do
Yeah.
proofreading
Yeah.
anymore.
Yeah.
It's all done automatically. So has that reduced the number of lawyers? Perhaps, but I'd like to think that those lawyers pivoted and went into a different area
Yeah.
of corporate law. Maybe they're doing great things in another area. So, again, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger.
Yeah.
The human spirit, I believe, to be very powerful and very strong. And we're built tough. Men and women are built tough. And I think that we will find a way to harness that. I hope so.
Well,
And make the best of it.
well, a friend of mine in Las Vegas, he's a lawyer down there, and he says, Steve, imagine, I'm a criminal lawyer. Imagine a robot being retained by, a crip out of North Las Vegas, like a gangbanger. I don't think they're going to be very pleased to have a robot represent them at court or something.
I think we're safe for a while.
Yeah, there's always criminal law,
Maybe
probably.
Our great grandchildren might have other issues, but
Yeah.
for now, I think we're good.
Okay. So yeah, I want to, and then more importantly, sports. I know you're a big sports fan. You mean you're a Padres fan. I've sort of followed the Dodgers and the Red Sox, so I won't say anything about the Padres. I mean, you got some great players on there. Manny Machado's really good, but you are a Jets fan, and unfortunately, they're not in the playoffs. And my poor Cowboys will never be in the playoffs or win a Super Bowl. So we're down to 4 teams. Who do you like for the Super Bowl?
Buffalo.
About the Bills? Yeah. Okay.
The Bills Mafia, as they're known, have been through so much. They, forever wide right in 1991 when they lost to the
Scott
Giants.
Norwood. Remember him?
Scott Norwood.
Oh yeah.
Those 4 straight Super Bowls that they didn't get over the hump. I think it's their time. I think Alan is the quarterback of the year. I think he's the MVP.
Yeah.
I think it's Buffalo's time. I like them. They just have to get past Mahomes and
Yeah.
Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift and the rest of the
exactly. Well, they got quite the team. I mean, KC's like, I mean, they haven't blown people out of the playoffs, but the problem is when you got Mahomes, you never know what's going to happen. That's the problem with that guy.
Yeah, and I'm famously wrong at making. I'm really bad at making football bets. So if anyone follows me and puts some money down on the Bills to win it all, don't come crying to me when they lose, because I'm classically wrong, and I finish last in my fantasy leagues all the time. So
Okay.
I'm an okay lawyer, but I'm an awful bettor. So I'm putting a huge caveat on that. Do not take that to the bank.
Okay.
Do not bet the
Yeah.
one. Who do you like? Who do you like?
I mean, honestly, I can't go against Mahomes. I mean, that guy, I mean, he just pulls it out. He pulls it out all the time. You know what I'm saying? And I mean, I think the Bills, unfortunately, they've got that like black cloud over them, like the Minnesota Vikings. And Philly, I just don't think the quarterback is strong enough. And I think the run with the Commanders will probably end this weekend, you know?
Yeah, the clock will strike midnight for the Commanders, I think. But no, I'm hopeful. I really would like to see the people of Buffalo. Man, they're one of those tragic American sports cities.
Mm-hmm.
The Sabres have never won anything. They lost their NBA team a long time ago.
Mm-hmm.
It's too cold to play baseball there, so they've got the Bills. And I've been to Bills games when I'm in
Okay.
Toronto.
Okay.
I'll over to Buffalo and watch a game. Been to the stadium. They're very into their team, and their fandom is unchallenged. I
Yeah.
think it's time. It's like, you mentioned the Bo Sox. You are lucky enough to live at a time when the Bo Sox have won several World Series.
Mm-hmm.
Imagine all those people live to be 100 years old and
Oh,
never
yeah.
saw their team. How
Well,
sad must that?
oh yeah. Well, any team that trade like Babe Ruth away to the New York Yankees, they get the curse of the Bambino. So
So I as a very passionate sports fan, I wish for everyone the joy of having their team win,
yeah.
at least once. And the Padres, of course, have been around since 1969, and I've been pulling for them for many, many years. But we'll see.
Well,
like I said, another good reason to eat my wife's healthy cooking and
Yeah.
to run a lot and to not get overly stressed with work.
Yeah.
So that I live long enough to see the Padres have a parade down Main Street.
Yeah, well, I'm old enough to remember Steve Garvey, probably the best looking guy ever to play Major League Baseball. His hair was always perfect, even when he took the cap off. Remember him?
Oh, yeah, very much so.
Yeah.
He ran for Senate here in California
Okay.
in November and
Yeah.
lost badly to
Okay.
a Democrat. But
All right.
Steve Garvey's alive and well and still looking good all these
Yeah.
years later.
Okay, great. Well, I really appreciate taking your time out of your busy day today and being a guest on my podcast. It's an honor to have you on here. And, I wish you all your best down there enjoying sunny Palm Springs. And, obviously you're coming back to Calgary. The weather's okay here right now, so hopefully we'll keep the weather warm for you, okay?
I'll be back next week and back in the shop grinding away. But I'm looking forward to getting back to my new hometown. So thank you very much for having me on. It's a pleasure and a privilege to be on. As I told you, I'm a big podcast fan. I've watched your podcast and listened to it, and it's super cool to be a guest. I just really hope that camera was recording.
Oh, it was Nathan? Or, we got a legal issue. We're gonna, we got a breach of contract. Maybe Alan can represent me against you. All right. Well, thanks again.
Steve.
Take care. And to all my viewers out there, thanks for tuning in for another podcast. And we'll see you next month in February 2025. In the meantime, stay warm, stay safe, and enjoy the viewing. Take care. Bye-bye.